This is Digitakt, Digitone, and Analog Heat from Elektron. These devices can integrate with a computer via companion software called Overbridge. This app expands workflow possibilities when used as a plug-in within a DAW. This allows for a hybrid experience working with outboard gear combined with the power of a DAW. And it adds a lot of value to both hybrid users and those who want to efficiently edit sounds. Let's learn about Elektron's Overbridge. Overbridge is free software that you can get from Elektron's website. It's available for both Mac and PC, and each Overbridge compatible device has its own plugin. The software creates a connection between the device and the computer, which does multiple things. It streams audio and MIDI to and from the device, syncs tempo and transport controls, and it gives you an interface for the device in a computer. Once you have the latest version of Overbridge installed, go ahead and update firmware on your device as well. The system works best when everything is up to date. Connect the device to a computer using a USB cable. Next, engage Overbridge mode on the device. Doing so may be slightly different on each device, but you should find this in the USB configuration settings. On Digitakt, press Settings, navigate to System, then USB Config, select Overbridge, and press Yes to confirm. Press the Settings button to exit the menu. There's 3 apps that are part of the Overbridge software package. Overbridge Engine manages the connection between the computer and the device. On a Mac, a shortcut is installed into the top menu for quick access to this app. Here, we can connect to a device, see its connection status, and even its firmware version. This app needs to run in the background whenever we want to use a device with the computer. Overbridge Control Panel is another app that needs to run when a device is connected. You can find this in the Applications folder called Elektron. This app shows you each audio input and output on the device, meters for each channel, and additional sound-related settings. Also in the Applications folder, you'll find individual apps for each compatible device. Opening an app from here allows us to use a device in standalone mode. That is, with a computer, but without a DAW. We'll walk through the layout in a bit, but I wanted to point out a unique feature of using an app in standalone mode, which is that there's a built-in audio recorder. You can play a sequence or a song on the device and capture a 32-bit wave recording from this app. Let's close this app and review in detail as a plugin. Overbridge integrates as a plugin in several popular DAWs. Let's open Ableton Live, go to Plugins, find the Elektron folder, select Digitakt, and drop it onto a MIDI track. The plugin should open. Keep in mind that each device's app is slightly different. We'll look at a few examples. A high-level overview is that we have access to sounds, parameters, modulation, and effects within the device from this app. Making a change in the app simultaneously changes it on the device, and making a change on the device also does so in the app. A quick note about using the device as an audio interface, which it can do. You can go to the Preferences settings within a DAW and select the device as an input and an output. In my case, I'm using the computer's output. I just want you to know that it's a feature and an option that you can select. At the top of the plugin, there's a drop-down to select a device. It should auto-select a device, assuming we connected it in the Overbridge Engine app already. Additionally, a device can only be connected to one instance of Overbridge at a time. To the right of that, there's a total recall button. When enabled, this saves the state of the device within the plugin and the DAW file. This is a good time to point out that samples, patterns, and song data on the device still have to be saved on the device. To the right of that, there are sync options. By default, it will sync both clock and transport info from the DAW to the device. You can also select just clock or no sync. Below this, there's tabs for each of the 8 tracks, Effect and Master, and a tab to assign samples. For each track, we can save and load samples, adjust its parameters, including 2 filters and 2 envelopes. There's also effects we can apply. We can right-click on a parameter and assign it to one of the 2 LFOs. The Effect and Master tab gives access to the device's global effects, master compressor, external audio input mixer, and track mixer. The Assign Sample tab allows us to browse the device's plus drive directory of samples, preview them, and assign them to the sample slot list. At the top right, there's a button to open the sound browser. From here, we can browse the device's sound library, assign samples to the project's sound pool, and assign them directly to tracks. I think one of the values of this app is being able to use the plugin or standalone app to quickly dial in the sound design on the device. Everything's visible, there's visual feedback, and it streamlines this workflow versus doing everything on the device. Even if you don't intend to use the device in a DAW, you can use the standalone app to create or alter sounds. With the plugin syncing clock and transport, starting playback in the DAW will start the device. And if we change the tempo, it will update on the device as well. With that, you can use the device as part of a live setup, for example. You can also record ideas, drums, and songs made on the device for further use in the computer. Start a new audio track and select the Digitakt track as the audio input source. Arm the track and record playback. Now that we have this audio clip, it frees up the device. We can alter this clip and save it for later use. Another thing we can do is sequence MIDI in the DAW and use the device as a sound module. The trick to this is to select a blank pattern on the device, otherwise it will play both the device's pattern and the MIDI clip from the DAW at the same time. In the DAW, create a new MIDI clip in the Digitakt's track. The 8 tracks of the device are all the way at the bottom or the low end of the note range. Let's add some notes to the clip and play it. Speaking of MIDI, you can send MIDI CC commands to the device to change patterns and settings. You can also automate and record parameter changes in the DAW. With the clip playing, record in the DAW, adjust parameters either in the plugin or on the device, and stop recording. Those automation changes are saved into the DAW's MIDI clip. Let's quickly look at Digitone's plugin for comparison. With a device connected physically and via Overbridge Engine, let's go to the Plugins folder in Ableton, select the Digitone plugin, and drop it onto a MIDI track. We can see some similarities, but the main section shows the synth settings, parameters, and presets for each of the device's 4 tracks. We can adjust these, save and load presets, adjust portamento, and effects. Like the Digitakt plugin, I think one of the biggest benefits is speeding up sound design workflow, but I also think using it as a sound module is a valuable feature. Let's also briefly look at the Analog Heat plugin. With the device connected, let's add it to a MIDI or audio track in Ableton. This device is a bit different from the others we looked at because this device is an effects processor and requires a sound source to function. Though that's also one of its strengths in being able to apply analog effects within a DAW. Say you have a drum track you want to add some character to. Let's hear what it sounds like dry. Engaging Analog Heat, we can hear it alter the source. The plugin shows a stereo waveform of the signal, meters of the input and output, and visual feedback of modulators and parameters. We can adjust settings in the plugin or on the device just as we saw before. This is just a quick look at Analog Heat. Check out our dedicated video on this device, including additional information about Overbridge. Hey, subscribe if you learned something. It really does help. Also, if you're interested in supporting the channel so we can make more content, there's some affiliate links in the description. We get a small commission, but it doesn't cost you anything. Lastly, thanks for staying until the end. You're awesome. Peace.